Have you ever heard the saying, the sportsbook always wins? What if you were the sportsbook? What if instead of trying to beat the sportsbook with your parlays, you could actually just fade a parlay? Meaning when somebody misses their parlay, you get their entry fee. Better yet, what if you could accept as many different parlays as you wanted and literally be the sportsbook? Now, better yet, what if you could accept parlays you knew were profitable if you took the action? You know, something called a plus EV parlay, but instead of entering the parlay, you're the one housing the parlay and you're going to get the entry fee if that person misses a leg. And what I'm describing to you is actually a real concept. I'm describing Epic's Pix mode. Pix mode is the exact same thing as you would normally expect out of Prize Picks or an Underdog, where a player, a user, simply submits a parlay, but instead of the action going to the house, it is then put into a queue where a fader could accept the action. Player A, if they win, they take the person's money who decided to house the parlay. But if the person who enters the parlay loses, then the person accepting the action actually wins the entry fee that the user entered. And what you see on the screen is a first look at what's called the EPICK Trader. The EPICK Trader shows differences between different parlay odds across the entire industry and compares it back to the EPICK users' odds that they submitted on their parlay. Now, before jumping in too far to the EPICK Trader, I want to go over the basics on how Epic's Pix mode actually works, so that you can better understand what you're looking at when you load up the EPICK Trader and start making money. Now, if you haven't downloaded Epic, I highly recommend you download it for iOS, Android, or you can use the web browser here that we're looking at. So on your screen here, you're going to see what looks to be another pick'em app, right? Prize Picks, Underdog. If you've used any one of those apps, then you're used to seeing this type of setup, right? You have the player props, you have all the player odds, you have the player multipliers, whatever you want to call them. And then you have at the very top a pick'em and a fade'em, right? As we just described earlier, you can either make picks for a parlay or you can fade somebody else's parlay. So I'm going to walk you through what this looks like, but very simple on the surface here. If I wanted to take the over here on Moody's points plus assists, and also let's just say Giannis points plus rebounds, it gives me a multiplier in which I submit here at the bottom for my confirmed picks. It then shows me my total amount that I would win if I were to put down any amount of money. So let's say $10, it's $10 into $32.17. And the only way that I win here is if both of these players go over the projection that I submitted. Since both the arrows are pointing up, I've selected they both are going to go, or at least I think they're going to go over the 9.5 points plus assists, and then Giannis also going over his points plus rebound line. You put those two multipliers together, and I'd be able to turn $10 into $32.17 if both of these players actually went over their projections, right? So you're used to seeing this concept on Prize Picks, on Underdog, and then you hit the play button, it goes right to the house, and then you either win or you lose. Now, the overarching problem with this model, at least on a Prize Picks or Underdog, is that what they aren't displaying are the actual odds on the surface. They're showing some very juiced up multipliers, right? And they're taking advantage of a majority of their sports bettors. Now, how does a company like Prize Picks or another sports book make money? They make money by simply beating their users. So what they're looking to do is juice up their odds or set very, very accurate projections, throw the losing bettors some kind of promo so that they keep playing, knowing that the long term that they're always going to beat that user. And when you compound this over hundreds, if not thousands of other users, you're going to make a lot of money. And that's how sports books like Prize Picks, Underdog make their money. Unfortunately, this industry is getting very predatory, right? And that's the problem that Epic is trying to solve. See, when you submit a parlay on Epic, it's not being submitted directly to a house to compete against $1 billion company. Instead, it's going to be put into a queue where another user can accept that action if they want to fade your lineup. They have an equal opportunity to make money. So that being said, this model is 100% peer-to-peer. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what it looks like to accept other action if you want to be the house. If you want to submit a parlay, go for it. If you find an edge, if you happen to like 2 other picks, 3 other picks, whatever you want, however many picks you want to submit, you can go ahead and play your typical pick'em type game mode, right? And that's exactly what we're trying to do here with Epic. So as you can see, back to the main board here, it looks very standard like a Prize Picks or Underdog. But if you click on the fade'em, this is where it starts to look very different, right? So what you'll see here is a bunch of different usernames with different lineups. And what you're able to then do is go ahead and click into the lineup and see what their selections were. So you can see here at the very top, this first person selected Forsberg over 2.5 shots on goal. And his second pick, I think that's Aaron Wiggins, not Andrew Wiggins, Aaron Wiggins, to go under 2.5 3-points made. So if he were to have both of his picks hit for Forsberg to go over and then for Aaron Wiggins to go under, he would turn $90.73 into whatever multiplier was submitted. So if we go back to the screen here, it would be his entry fee of $50 times 2.75, and that would be how much he would win. However, from a Fathom perspective, from a sportsbook perspective, we're trying to beat this opponent. We're hoping that he misses, right? That's how you make money as a Father on Epic. We're looking to turn $90.73 into $137.56. Running some quick math here, that's about $47 extra in profit. Because only one of his picks has to miss in order for me to win, my profit margin isn't as high if I were to walk away a winner from this contest. And again, this is how the sports books work, right? If you miss one pick in a parlay at FanDuel, then they collect your entry fee. It's the exact same kind of mindset here if I'm housing action at Epic, right? So basically how this looks is if one of those two picks misses, then I win, or both of them. As long as he has one or more picks miss, you win, right? And in the rules, basically all you're doing is you're taking the inverse, and then as long as you get one of those picks right, you win. So again, it's just you're essentially just betting that his picks will not hit, or one or more of his picks will not hit, right? And that's it. That's how you play this picks mode on Epic. And the next problem that I'm trying to solve for an Upside.tools tool is I want to know as a sports book which one of these parlays I should be accepting to keep me a profitable sports bettor. Generally in this industry, you're always thinking about how to beat the sports book from a parlay perspective, plus EV line comparing perspective. But how does it look when you're sitting on the other side, right? That can be very confusing. It can almost be backwards, right? Basically, as a sharp sports bettor, if I knew that this person was submitting a non-profitable parlay, then I would be all over it. I'd accept it, every single time. But the reality is you can't really do that quickly. You have to compare these odds. You have to de-vig them. You have to compare sportsbook odds. Like, I would love to know what Forsberg's 2.5 shots on goal odds are at FanDuel and DraftKings and ParlayPlay, and compare them directly back to what the price this player got at Epic, right? Because if they got a worser price, I would be accepting that, right? Because the market knows all. That's something that I've always taught here on this channel. But anyway, I would love to have all that information in one place. And that's exactly the problem that EPICK Trader is solving. We have all that data in one place for every single lineup that goes through Epic's ecosystem, at least from the picker perspective. And then it takes it a step further and then compares every single player prop across the entire industry. And I'm going to walk you through the EPICK Trader to show you exactly how to observe this data and which parlays you should be accepting as a fader. So now let's go ahead and walk through the EPICK Trader top to bottom. And I'm just going to show you what parlays you should be accepting, what you should be looking for, especially when you're trying to make money on this platform, right? From the fader's perspective. So at the very top here, we have some common filters. These are pretty self-explanatory. You can filter by baseball, basketball, esports, whatever kind of lineup you're looking to fade, you can sort by. I'm going to keep it by all sports just for now, just for simplicity. You can also sort by the number of legs. If you don't want to go crazy and always fade these crazy 8-leg parlays, you can go down and filter by 2, right? You also can filter by contest date. You can filter by the entry fee if you're looking for some low stakes, or even if you're a high roller, you can sort by the largest amount. So if you were to fade this lineup, then you'd be putting down $1,000 on this parlay to fade for $90, right? You can also filter by picker fee, how much they're putting down, and then also the most important thing, you can go ahead and filter by parlay difference. I'm going to explain what this means right now. So as you can see here, I have the most profitable fader perspective lineup here at the very top. It comes from a username, we'll call him Joseph D6. This is a real lineup, by the way, that has been submitted on Epic. I'm afraid to refresh the page because it might not be there. This is a great example of a lineup that I'm looking to accept if I'm looking to profit on Epic. I'm going to explain why here. But there's a lot of things you should be looking at. Most importantly, the very first thing you should be looking at is that difference, right? What that difference is the exact numerical difference between the parlay odds on one of these sports books compared to Epic. So for instance, the most aggressive price tag is going to be on ParlayPlay. They're setting their odds for this exact same parlay that was submitted on Epic, and they are paying out at plus 413 odds. This also means this would equate to a 5.13 multiplier on ParlayPlay, and for every $100 that I put down, I'd be getting $413 as winnings. So now let's compare that directly back to Epic's parlay. Now, the great news is I don't have to compare by going back to the Epic's actual page. I can see right here on the page what he submitted for his payout on Epic. Right? His odds that he's getting on Epic are 244, plus 244, right? Vastly different from the plus 413 odds that you're getting on ParlayPlay. So that means from a sportsbook perspective, this is a very non-profitable parlay that the person's submitting, right? Basically, if this was submitted on ParlayPlay, they would take this 100 times out of 100, right? Because they know that the odds that they're offering are actually greater than the odds that Epic's offering. So think about this from a sportsbook perspective. If I know that a major sportsbook is offering this at plus 413, and I know that Epic is offering this at a drastically worse price, shouldn't I accept that? Keep in mind that all these other sports books are doing millions and millions and millions of dollars in revenue and setting their lines efficiently, right? And that's exactly why we're comparing them directly back to Epic. So you can also see here that we have the player prop odds right next to it. We have Epic's player prop odds that this user submitted Mark Andrews to go over 2.5 receptions. It's at minus 152. On ParlayPlay, minus 172. On Caesars, minus 159. DraftKings, they actually gave a better price at minus 151. Anyway, what you can see here is it's kind of bouncing all over the place in between minus 150 to minus 172, right? Epic's is on the cheaper end, but you'll see here for Jalen Waddle on the next line here that ParlayPlay is offering a way better price at plus 104. Epic's offering minus 112. And then the next line, it looks like Epic's offering the best price at minus 112, only slightly to DraftKings, when they're setting it at minus 119. However, the overall parlay odds that they're getting is significantly worse than the best odds in the industry that's being offered at ParlayPlay. So me, if I had the bankroll to fade this user, to fade him paying $252.94 to make an extra $100, I would be all over this because these odds don't make sense on Epic. This user submitted a very bad parlay, right? And I'm going to assume this is actually already off the website. I'd be surprised because I've been recording this video for about 15 minutes. It'd be awesome if I could actually take advantage of this. But then what I would then do is head back and look for Joseph D, see if his lineup still exists. I'm going to give this a refresh. Looking for Joshua D, right? That was his name. Joseph D. Look at that. I believe it's still there. Yes, sir. It's still there. Now, somebody partially faded this lineup, which means they didn't have the full amount to fade it. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fade the rest of this. There's $232.94 to fade. That's left for this to win just about $92, right? So I'm going to go ahead. I'm all over this because this looks like a profitable parlay to fade. And it's literally that easy. What this is connected directly into Epic's API, and it's reading all the parlays that come in. And this tool directly compares it player prop by player prop and then gives you the overall parlay odds across the industry for every single parlay. The next one is also a very profitable parlay to fade on Epic. So if you look here, the parlay odds for Epic for this, the user submitted, he got it at 412. ParlayPlay, slightly worse. DraftKings, also worse. Caesars actually offering a better payout. Underdog, they're just all the way down there at plus 309. And then Hard Rock is slightly better. So what I'm seeing here is this is extremely comparable to the overall market. And I would be comfortable as a fader to go ahead and accept this. Now imagine how much time and effort it would take to compare each individual parlay odds directly back to Epic if you were to go back and do this, sportsbook by sportsbook. And that's exactly what the problem that we're trying to solve here with the Epic Trader. So again, I would accept Joshua F. We have Joseph and Joshua that we're both accepting parlays from. Let's see if it's back here on the Fathom board. And scrolling through, I'm actually not seeing a Joshua lineup. And it looks like that got taken, and it should have gotten taken because it was a profitable fade, at least from our perspective, right? So wasn't up there that long. But again, that's exactly what the Epic Trader is doing. It's constantly filtering in these lineups, these different parlay odds. And all you have to do is click the refresh button to find the most profitable parlays. And it looks like there's quite a few. There's at least a handful. And again, keep in mind, this is 100% peer-to-peer. So the more that this app grows, the more action that you're going to see, the more profitable opportunities. And that's the whole goal, is to create a good ecosystem of both sharp bettors and casual sports bettors, while also saving money for both the bettor and the person accepting the lineup. Now, if I were to scroll down further, you'll see some differences that really aren't that profitable, right? And that's okay. That just means that these are probably ones that I would avoid. Now, you, by all means, feel free to accept these as well if you feel comfortable by just simply comparing, the odds here. But as you can see here, the best odds being offered at Hard Rock at plus 199 still has better odds than what Epic is offering at plus 205. And you can see here, this person got a really good parlay. He's really hoping that somebody's going to accept this. Plus 595, and you can see all these other odds very, very much lower. So hats off to that guy for finding that those odds there. But then you also notice that there's some NA differences, and what that simply means is that there's not enough book support. It means that the other sportsbooks actually aren't displaying odds for an under rushing touchdown. But that also doesn't mean that you can't accept this parlay, right? Let's actually take a look at some of these other odds. So you can see here for Malik Washington to go under 5.5 receiving targets on Underdog, it's being offered at -135, ParlayPlay -128, -122. So you're getting slightly better odds. And then if you compare across the industry for Bijan Robinson over rushing touchdowns, you can see that they're actually getting the best odds on Epic as well. So this is actually one I'd probably avoid. But the whole point is that the sportsbook averages aren't showing because there's not a complete comparison. It looks like Kenneth Walker, we can't compute an exact parlay odds for any one of these books because he's missing on every single book. So that's all that means. But you can dive in deeper here and just manually compare the odds. He's getting worse odds. For this example, this person's getting worse odds on Isaiah Likely on Epic, and he's getting better odds on ParlayPlay comparing to Caesars and ParlayPlay. So this is actually relatively in line with the industry, right? Just because a sportsbook doesn't have odds for this exact player prop doesn't necessarily mean it's a non-profitable sports bet. So I'd actually be pretty comfortable taking this. So again, this is just speeding up the process for you. Really, all this is trying to solve is just trying to create another tool for you to become a profitable sports bettor. As this tool develops, we'll be adding even more parlay odds. So you'll have even more data points and hopefully a lot more volume in the future. If you guys did find this video helpful, please do hit that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course, smash that like button.